lazy exercises. Microtears, or what is a microtear? Well, according to some comments that I've gotten from a couple people, microtears don't exist. Apparently they don't exist. So, oh, okay, didn't know they didn't exist. All right, let me Google. Let's see proof that they don't exist. Well, according to Google, microtears in muscle is structural damage to muscle fibers caused by mechanical tension and metabolic stress during a workout. Now, the metabolic stress, that's for another conversation, so we'll just ignore that for now. But mechanical tension is something that was also mentioned in a comment, because after the guy said that microtears ain't real, he said the way you build muscles is through mechanical tension. That's what causes muscle growth. It's like, okay, what is mechanical tension? All right. Well, mechanical tension is just a fancy way of saying, I'm gonna make a video about it, but it's just a fancy way of saying weight training. That's it. It's just lifting heavy weights. Mechanical tension is just resistance against your muscles. Your muscles resisting, going against resistance. So it's just weight training. That's it. Just lifting heavy. That's bro. That's the bro term right there. Lift heavy, bro. Right. So there's nothing special about the term mechanical tension because it doesn't mean anything other than lifting heavy weights. Right. And as you can see, causes of the microtears is heavy workouts. You know, lifting weights, right? New activities, especially if it's the first time you did something with your muscles, you're more likely going to cause microtears, right? Because your muscles are not used to that type of stress. So even running for the first time, like you haven't ran in years and you start running, you're going to create microtears. Your muscles are going to immediately get stressed out real fast because it's not used to you running, especially if you're over 300 pounds. And this is the first time you start running. Push-up squats and high-intensity exercises like jumping jacks and burpees, right? Especially if you're over 300 pounds doing jumping jacks, that's definitely going to create not only microtears, it's also going to create microfractures in your shin bone. But that's for another conversation, right? The healing, when these microtears are healing, you know, it creates scar tissue that forms from the microtears, right? So you get some scar tissue, right, which tightens and makes the muscle less flexible and more prone to pain, which is, in other words, a way of saying that when you work out, especially with heavy weights, you create microtears. The microtears create what? Soreness. What is the soreness? It's a byproduct of inflammation. When you damage your muscles, your body responds with inflammation because it's reacting to the fact that you damage your muscles, aka microtears, right? And then one of the results, one of the things you'll feel is soreness, which you'll feel the next day, right? Within 24 hours, you'll start feeling very sore because the body's, you know, starting the process of healing and it's letting you know, hey, there's a lot of damage here and it's going to take a while to repair it. And this is why it takes, you know, like about 3 days at most to really heal well enough, or at least to the point where you're less sore. So it'll take about 3 days for you to be less sore. You're gonna be really sore for those 3 days, but you'll be less sore after those 3 days. Then you start feeling better, especially because you're resting and you're consuming protein to recover those muscles. So as you can see, Google says that muscle tears, microtears is real. Microtears is just a way of saying damage to muscle fibers. So what are microtears in muscle? During intense resistance training, weightlifting, right? Muscle fibers experience tiny tears or damage, triggering the body to repair and rebuild these fibers, leading to muscle growth. Obviously, that'd be the continuation of that statement. You see how it says microtears and hypertrophy, separating fact from fiction. Dun dun dun. I guess we should click on that, right? Usually the soreness you feel in the days after your workout is caused by microtears, tiny tears in your microfibers. And that was December 9, 2022. As of January 10, 2024, you see, right, tiny tears are damaged, triggering the body repair and building these fibers. So let's see the fact versus fiction, the myth of microtears. So this is more likely where people got the idea of microtears ain't real, right? The microtears hypothesis posits that during intense resistance training, muscle fibers experience tiny tears or damage, triggering the body to repair and rebuild these fibers, leading to muscle growth. The first problem with this theory is that there is no evidence to suggest mechanical tension causes microtears. Strenuous exercise can cause microscopic muscle damage, which is the long way of saying microtears. However, this is chemically mediated, not tearing, and a whole topic on its own. Chemically mediated and occurs in the days follow exercise. However, this is chemically mediated. I think they're trying to say that the microscopic muscle tears or the microtears are prevented by some chemical in your body. All right, if you say, well, hang on, where the just splitting hairs between tearing and damage. You still need some form of muscle breakdown to trigger growth. Then that leads to the second problem. Yes, the body will repair damaged structures, but repair and growth are separate pathways. They share some mediators and elements, but they are undoubtedly separate. So while it may be true that resistance training can lead to structural damage in muscle fibers, the idea that is the main driver of hypertrophy is best oversimplified. The body will repair and rebuild damaged structure. However, the theory that will absolutely lead to hypertrophy has been debunked. However, the theory that this will lead to hypertrophy is debunked. In short, the types of stresses which may lead to microtrauma, now we're making it, we're turning it from micro tears to trauma. Oh, that's the new thing. Could also trigger hypertrophy. Notice it says could also trigger. We mean also trigger. It should be the only thing that triggers if you're saying micro tears don't trigger it. However, you can equally have muscle growth without damage and damage without muscle growth. So you see, it was a whole lot of nothing, because what's the definitive? What's the final conclusion? What's the scientific thing that says what you need to do to grow your muscles? Because so far, all I've ever seen and experienced, because I lift weights, is I lift heavy until I can't lift it no more. So I do as many reps as I can. Once I hit failure, aka I can't do no more reps, I stop. The next day I'm sore, my muscles hurt because I clearly used them. I clearly had to have created damage. That's where the inflammation and the pain comes from. And then I consume proteins and it heals. Here's an interesting thing. I was in a situation where I was in a fight and my muscles were sore, mostly in my face and, mostly in my face, mostly in my face. So in order to repair the muscle damage that came from being punched in the face multiple times, not from lifting weights, protein. I consumed a lot of proteins. I made sure I ate a lot of eggs, I specifically asked for Chobani yogurt because it's high in protein, and I was eating eggs and Chobani yogurt as my main source of protein for the muscle repair. For any bone-based damage from the fight, I consumed chocolate milk because calcium, obviously, and I healed fast because of it. Not because of anything the doctors were trying to do, anything like that, because they barely did anything. It was my own self-medication while I was in the hospital, mind you, of Chobani, basically protein and calcium to repair. And I repaired and healed quickly. So much so that I could leave at any time, but they insisted I stayed in the hospital longer, unnecessarily. But whatever, that's for another story, right? The point is, I'm very experienced when it comes to muscle repair as well as bone repair, because I've dealt with that many times with my own body, but also helping other people with their own body damage and helping them heal. So I'm very knowledgeable, very experienced when it comes to that. Plus I study the human anatomy. So science is my thing. But the point is that, yes, your muscles get damaged and they do grow because of it. If there's something else happening, cool, but that's something else. So far, I have not seen, but I'm going to try to debunk the muscle tear myth that everybody thinks is a myth. I'm going to try to debunk it soon, which will involve me lifting weights, of course, because apparently that's part of hypertrophy is you got to lift weights, but not to the point where you tear your muscles. So we're going to do something different. That means the only way I can prove that you can build muscles without micro tears is by never hitting failure. So that'll be a future, experiment of mine, which would be cool because I would love it to succeed. Because then it's like, great, that means I will never have to be sore ever again. But if I never hit failure, if I lift weights and never hit failure, would that mean I would never deal with the situation of having to do less sets? Could I do more sets? As long as I never hit failure, I should be able to do multiple sets. I should be able to get strong. So I should, in theory, with this, micro tears ain't a real thing, in theory, I should be able to, especially not hitting failure every time I lift, I should, in theory, be able to get stronger every day. So let's test that out, see if I can get 5 pounds stronger every day. So by the end of a month, let's say 5 times 30 is 150. So I should be able to add 150 pounds to any lift that I want. What lift could I add 150 to? What if I ordered the 100-pound dumbbell, I guess, whatever exercise I use dumbbells for. So I guess bicep curl. So I'll try to do that since biceps small muscle and whatnot. So I'll try that. I tried to add 150 pounds in 1 month of strength to my bicep curl. So that's a future video when I do that. It'll be awesome if it works. If it doesn't, yes, micro tears don't aren't a thing. If anything, it's the opposite. It slows you down from building muscles. You can build muscles faster if you don't hit failure, if you don't create micro tears. Because micro tears doesn't have anything to do with the body's muscle building process. I think what it is that a lot of these guys who say micro tears ain't the way you build muscles is because I guess they're going with the idea that what really causes muscles to grow, like to get bigger, it's not more muscle fibers, it's just inflammation, like permanent inflammation, basically the pump. It's like they're deliberately trying to trigger a pump, an inflammation reaction, and then they're trying to maintain it. They want to keep it so that way their biceps look big and stuff. But doesn't that sound like empty muscles? Because you're not making the biceps bigger, you're not really growing them. All you're doing is just filling them up with inflammation, with hypertrophy apparently, or whatever that is. And I already did a video about hypertrophy, and hypertrophy says micro tears. Muscle damage. Muscle repair equals muscle growth. So here we go. This is what micro tears is about apparently. Myth or legend? I mean, myth or fact or fiction. That's what I meant to say. Fact or fiction. We shall see in the near future. But for now, micro tears is real.